Life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. Even the bad stuff, Kwame, is happening for you. This is what I call the SWAT teams of life. On July 30th, 2008, a Dallas SWAT team comes into this apartment where I'm at. I'm sitting there on the couch with my dope dealer, and his name is Tex. I'm like, Tex, get out of here, man. The cops are closing in on me. The end is near. And just about that time, the windows blow out, the door blows off the hinges. Dallas SWAT comes in, guns everywhere. There's flashbang grenades. And this Dallas SWAT officer is on my chest. He's got his foot on my chest, and he's got a gun in my face, and he's screaming, "Don't move, don't move." That day, on July 30th, 2008, I could not see the reality of life because I was so caught up in this negative world that I was in, bad choices I was making. And look, I pull no punches, Kwame. I deserve to go to prison. I deserve to be arrested that day because I was a bad guy doing bad things. But I look back on that day now, years later in the rearview mirror of life, and I realized that SWAT did not arrest me that day. They rescued me that day.
Today's guest is Damon West. In his past life, he was a Division I college quarterback, a Wall Street stockbroker, and convicted felon sentenced to 65 years in a Texas maximum security prison. But now, he's one of the most in-demand speakers in the country and the best-selling co-author of the groundbreaking book, The Coffee Bean. His story is one of the most raw, most honest, and frankly, most stunning transformations I have ever heard. And it all starts with a message he received from an unlikely messenger in a Dallas County jail cell. 4 words that changed everything. And now, Damon, I have to ask, how does a man with your story end up as the coffee bean guy? This episode is brought to you by Granola, Shopify, and Fabric by Gerber Life. If meetings are eating up your day and you want clean, structured notes without the stress, try Granola AI totally free for 3 months at granola.ai/Kwame. Ready to turn your what ifs into a real business? Sign up for your $1 per month trial with Shopify at shopify.com/Kwame. And finally, for the parents listening, protect your family's financial future in just minutes. Apply for term life insurance today at meetfabric.com/Kwame. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states, prices subject to underwriting and health questions.
So yeah, man, so people call me the coffee bean guy, Kwame. It comes from a story that I heard. Take you back to 2009. In 2009, the date, actually, I can tell you, May 18th, 2009, I stood in front of a jury in Dallas, and the jury just heard the case of Damon West, this guy that had it all, star high school quarterback in Texas under the Friday Night Lights, Division I starting quarterback at the University of North Texas by 20 years old, career in an injury, ends his career, and then he goes off and becomes a stockbroker and works in politics, but then he gets hooked on meth, right? They hear about the time that I was working at UBS as a broker in 2004 in Dallas, and I tried meth for the first time, became instantly hooked. And then after I'd blown through everything in 18 months, because the drug is a monster, I was living in the streets of Dallas and I became a criminal. And then I became the ringleader of a bunch of other criminals, a bunch of other drug addicts breaking into houses all over Dallas. They called the burglaries the Uptown Burglaries. They called me the Uptown Burglar. And so for 3 years, these burglaries go on until the Dallas SWAT team finally takes me down in 2008. So 2009, the jury hears the case. The trial lasts 6 days. The jury deliberated for 10 minutes. It was one of the fastest deliberations ever, right? And I know I'm in trouble because a 6-day trial, in a 10-minute verdict, it means they smoked you. They brought me back in the courtroom and the judge read my sentence out loud. He said, "Damon Joseph West, you are hereby sentenced to 65 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice." Now, Kwame, 65 years in Texas is a life sentence in Texas. The jury gave me life that day. First felony conviction ever. First time I've ever been in the system. Life sentence on a RICO case, engaging in organized crime. After the trial is over, my mom and my dad get one visit with me. My mom makes me promise 2 things. She said, "Promise me that you won't get into one of these white hate groups, one of these Aryan Brotherhood type of gangs. Promise me you won't get any tattoos all over your body in there." She said, "No gangs, no tattoos. Come back as the man we raised, or don't come back at all." And Kwame, I don't know how I'm going to keep this promise to my mom because every guy in county jail, as I'm waiting for the prison bus to come get me, they're telling me the same thing. You have to get into a gang. You can't survive without a gang. The world you're going into, the gangs are your family. One guy, though, was different. And that's all it takes, right? It takes one person to be the difference maker. It was this older black Muslim guy named Muhammad. Now, Muhammad, he's a career criminal. He's been in and out of prison his entire life. He and I couldn't be more different if we tried. And the code in there says we have no business talking to each other. He's black, I'm white. He's older, I'm younger. He's Muslim, I'm a Catholic. But he approaches me, and every day he comes to check on me. So this one morning he comes up. My time is short. The prison bus is getting ready to come get me. He said, listen, let me tell you what prison's really going to be like. And he walks me through it, Kwame. He's telling me that race is the biggest denominator in there, that everybody breaks off in their own racial group. That's how the gangs divide up. Race is a big thing. He said, you'll fight the white gangs first, then you'll fight the black gangs. And if you survive all of this, you can earn the right to walk alone. He told me, he said, prison is like a pot of boiling water. You have three choices how to respond. You can be like a carrot that goes in hard but becomes softened by the water, an egg that will become hardened by the water, or the coffee bean that changes the water to coffee. He said the coffee bean, the smallest of the three things, he said, small like you, has the power to change the entire atmosphere inside the pot because the power is inside the coffee bean, just like the power is inside of you. Kwame, he told me, he said, everything else in life is changed by the waters of life. Carrots are changed by the water. Eggs are changed by the water, but not a coffee bean. He said the coffee bean is the only thing that will change the water because it is the change agent. He said, if you want to come back as someone your parents recognized, you have to be like a coffee bean. The last words he said to me, Kwame, in the summer of 2009, the prison bus has arrived at Dallas County Jail to pick me up to go serve a life sentence in a Texas maximum security prison. He has 4 words from the way out the door. He said, hey, West, be a coffee bean. And Kwame, that's where the coffee bean comes from. Those are the last 4 words I ever heard from Muhammad. It was in Dallas County Jail in 2009. But those 4 words changed my life because those 4 words put the power back inside me. You know, it's an interesting story, too, as we go off into the rest of this. And it's this, a principle that you're going to hear, this theme that goes through my whole story. And I think it goes through most people's lives. The messengers in life can come from anywhere in life, Kwame. And the messengers won't always look like you. They won't come from the same background as you. But that's why they're the messenger. They come from a different place and a different view. Today on this podcast, the messenger is a formerly incarcerated man from Texas on parole for the rest of his life. But anybody can be the messenger, right, Kwame?
Man, yes. And for the people listening, if you're not hyped up after that story, I don't know. You're not alive. So first of all, thank you for telling this story. And then secondly, there's so much to pull from this. And I think it's the wisdom of seeing wisdom in other people and the humility to accept that wisdom when it comes. Because no matter what somebody's background is, they always have something that they can teach you. Everybody that you interact with can and should be a teacher if you're willing to listen. And I want to go back to that moment when you were talking to Mohammed, because I'm sure you were already getting a ton of different advice. What was it about the way that he packaged this message that hit you in the heart and in the mind that actually changed the way that you saw your situation?
Yeah, Muhammad, and this is a great question you're asking, because this is going to dovetail perfectly into one of the biggest tenets about life and about being a coffee bean. Muhammad had taken the time to establish a relationship with me. Kwame, relationships are everything. Relationships are the key to life. And the things that happen in life, the things you want to do in life, they're going to be built upon a relationship that you've made with someone or someone's made with you. And he invested in me in the short period I knew him, just a couple of weeks that I knew him in Dallas County Jail. He invested that time in me. He took the time to get to know me. He would come up and have conversation with me in county jail. You know, he didn't lead off with the coffee bean on the first day. But as those days led up, he wanted to know more about me. He listened. Listening is a superpower, Kwame. It's one of the best things we can do, because when we listen to what other people are telling us, we can become useful to them because we understand where the problem is. And that's anything in life. The best businesses, the best entrepreneurs I see out there, they solve a problem for other people because they listened to what the problem is and where the pain points were. So Muhammad had taken the time to get to know me. The other guys in Dallas County Jail, to be quite honest, some of them are reveling in the idea that this guy is about to go be devoured in a Texas maximum security prison. Because to be quite honest, Kwame, I don't fit in to Dallas County Jail. You know, I come from a background that I had 2 parents in my home. My mom was a school teacher growing up. My dad was a sports writer. I had a college education, came from a great family. Most of the guys I'm locked up with, they didn't have the same privilege I had in life. And I had a lot of privilege. And those guys didn't have that. And they saw this guy that was about to be devoured by the system. And some of them liked it. They publicly told me they liked it. One guy told me, he said, "You represent the man." And now the man is about to devour one of its own. But Muhammad, even though we come from different backgrounds, he didn't revel in my pain, in my bad situation. He wanted to offer me solutions to it. And his solution most days was to make sure I was starting the day on a positive note, because it's really important, Kwame, because how we start our day kind of determines our day. You can start your day and start it over anytime you want, but it's good to start off on a positive note every day. And that's what he did. Every day he invested in me. He'd come by my cell. And that's why Muhammad's message came through to me loud and clear, because he was the right messenger at the right time. And I think that in life, what you said was so spot on about people being teachers. I think everybody is a teacher, to be honest with you, because some people teach you how to do things the right way, but other people will teach you how to not do things. So everybody has something to teach us. We all have something to learn.
That's brilliant. You're absolutely right. Whether they mean to teach or not, they will teach one way or another. And I think some of those lessons that we can learn from other people are lessons of what not to do. And before I go deeper into what I know people expect me to go into, which would be the conversations you had and what you learned about just the human experience because of your experience, I want to make sure that we do a public service announcement here, because there's something that you said in the first conversation we had that just stuck with me, where you said it was your perspective on happiness and having good days. And you said, every time my feet don't hit a cold concrete floor, that's a good day. So can you tell us about how this has reshaped your perspective on happiness and meaning and purpose in life?
100%. Great question. Here's what I think you have to do in life to find serenity, to find joy, and to find happiness. Is you have to first define what your bad days look like, because it's important to understand what our measuring stick is as we go into life and have days. I think you should define what a bad day looks like. For example, let's say we can agree on some things that are bad days. A bad day would be if a marriage fails, if a job is lost, a career is over. A bad day is something happening to one of your children. That's a bad day, or your pet. These are bad days. I think a bad day is a day where it could be a life-altering event. Those are bad days. Now, most of your days that you call bad days are probably not one of those days, right? Because most of your bad days are really days that are just a little bit uncomfortable or a lot uncomfortable, but they're not life-altering. You have a way to pull back from that in the same day. In my life, going to prison and surviving life in a level 5 maximum security prison in Texas is my measuring stick on what a bad day looks like. So you can imagine that every day that I wake up, I'm 10 plus years out of prison at this point. Every day that I wake up and my feet don't hit the cold concrete floor of a prison cell, I'm going to find a way to win, Kwame. And some days, like I said, are not as good as others, but it's like traffic, right? Some days you sit in traffic and the traffic bothers you. Other days you sit in traffic and it doesn't bother you at all. So is it the traffic or is it you? And I would argue it's always you. It's always the way you see the world around you. It's your mindset as you take it into this thing called life. And Kwame, I would also offer here, there are only 4 things that I've found in life that you can control in life. And it took me going to prison. And prison strips you of everything in life. Even your name is stripped from you. But there's 4 things you have control over. You control what you think, what you say, what you feel, and what you do. What you think, what you say, what you feel, and what you do. And if it's not one of these 4 things, you don't have control over. So what I'm telling you is that your thoughts that are in your head, you have control over that, and you have to stay in control of that. You can't let your day get away from you. In prison, they have a saying, the old timers, the old convicts tell you when you get there, you have to do your time. You can't let your time do you. Because in life, if you start letting your time do you, it gets away from you, right? And then you start drifting off because now you're not fully in control of your thoughts. And then you get into things like social media, your phone, these things that rob us of time. Time, Kwame, the most precious resource we have. Once time is gone, it's gone for good. And all the money in the world will not buy one more second of that stuff they call time. And I see, and it's happened to me with this phone. These things are the biggest detractors in life. They steal from us. They steal our precious resource called time. I read an article the other day that we're on our phones now 8 hours a day. Kwame, I don't get 8 hours of sleep. And at the end of a year, 8 hours of your day adds up to 4 months of your life gone to your phone, to scrolling with nothing to show for it. I I tell people this all the time, Kwame. I've lived life in a level 5 prison, and I've been out for over 10 years now, and I've visited a lot of prisons. I voluntarily walk into prisons all over America every month. I meet more people out here in the free world who are locked up than I ever did when I served time in a real prison. Because more people are in prison by their thoughts and by their things than by steel bars and barbed wire and concrete combined. We have to define what our bad days are so we can count the good days, because there's a lot more good days out there than bad, but it can't be defined by someone else. It has to be your definition so you can focus on your days.
We have a keynote speaker who is truly a modern stoic in disguise, because what you just did, this is, I don't have any tattoos either, but you said several things that could and should be tattooed right where I can see it daily.
That's a good idea, man. Maybe I'll call my mom and tell her I'm gonna get tatted up with some of my quotes.
That'll be your negotiation, right?
Yeah,
This is
now we're
incredible.
negotiating.
Right. Because you have the four things we can control: your thoughts, what you think, what you say, what you feel, and what you do. This is incredible. You're so right. And as you were saying this, I want to share my experience just cognitively, because there was a high degree of cognitive dissonance, because I recognize that for many of us, there is something that is a little bit comforting with absolving ourselves of the responsibility of living a good life. Because if I'm having a bad day, I want to blame somebody else, some other circumstance, for what it is that is happening to me. Essentially, like you said, you want to do the time, but not let the time do you. And a lot of times we're letting life happen to us, where we sit back and act like we're victims in this and say, "Oh, listen, I can't have a good day because of this that happened to me." But what you've demonstrated is that you've had your life stripped down to the bare essentials. So you know what is necessary and what's in your control. And as long as you're paying attention to your thoughts, your actions, your words, and your feelings, then you realize that there is some degree of control that we can have. So it's not negating the fact that bad things happen, is that those are often bad moments that we let extrapolate into a bad day, and we have more control than we immediately recognize.
Absolutely. And I'll give you another tattoo to quote to I'll give you another quote to tattoo on yourself. This doesn't come from me. It comes from my friend named Ed Milet. So Ed Milet once told me, he said, "Damon, life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you." Everything in life, the good and the bad, is always happening, Kwame, for us to become this better version of ourselves. But again, in life, you have to go through some difficult things in life to see what you're really made of, what you're really capable of. Because without the pressure in life, we don't find out what we're really made of. But Ed truly believes that, and I believe it too. Once he said it like that, it made so much sense. Life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. Even the bad stuff, Kwame, is happening for you. This is what I call the SWAT teams of life. On July 30th, 2008, a Dallas SWAT team comes into this apartment when I'm at, right? I'm sitting there on the couch with my dope dealer, and his name is Tex. I'm like, "Tex, get out of here, man. The cops are closing in on me. The end is near." And just about that time, the windows blow out, the door blows off the hinges. Dallas SWAT comes in, guns, guns everywhere. There's flashbang grenades, and this Dallas SWAT officer is on my chest. He's got his foot on my chest, and he's got a gun in my face, and he's screaming, "Don't move, don't move." And I remember looking at the barrel of that gun, and I was like, "Man, don't worry, right?" But that day on July 30th, 2008, I could not see the reality of life because I was so caught up in this negative world that I was in, bad choices I was making. And look, I pull no punches, Kwame. I deserved to go to prison. I deserved to be arrested that day because I was a bad guy doing bad things. But I look back on that day now, years later in the rearview mirror of life, and I realized that SWAT did not arrest me that day. They rescued me that day. They pulled me out of this situation that I couldn't get myself out of. You see, that day I couldn't see it in 2008, but I look back on it now in the rearview mirror of life that if they don't do that day, I'm not where I am right now. And someone had to rescue me. Sometimes the big things in life that happen to us aren't really holding us back. They're saving us from something else, right? So that's why I look at Dallas SWAT and Ed's quote, like, they didn't arrest me that day. They rescued me that day, Kwame.
Mm. Wow. Wow. That's powerful. That is powerful. And what's interesting is that when it comes to that belief, life happens for you, not to you. The thing is, if life happens to you, that's true too. It depends on what you choose to believe. And I think that's the key. You have the
Yes.
choice. You have the choice. And so you have to choose your filter. If you want to live life where life is happening to you, where you don't have control, then you will look for confirming evidence around you and you will find it. You will find what you're looking for. But if you shift your mindset and just test it, just say, no, life is happening for me. What does this mean for me? What can I do with this? Where is the opportunity? Now we will actually look for opportunities. And because we're actually looking for it, we will find it. So, whatever we believe is true, now we have the recognition that we can choose a better belief that would lead us to a better life.
100%. That's the opportunity in adversity. And Kwame, whenever, when you lay it out like that, it really makes me look back on like this mindset shift that happened that day when I heard the coffee bean. You know, I didn't immediately say, okay, I'm going to be able to do this. But when Muhammad told me the story of the coffee bean, it gave me the first kernel of hope. And hope was important, man. Hope is not a strategy, as they say, right? But you have to have hope, right? Because that's the thing. It's like the movie The Shawshank Redemption. Have you ever seen
I
Shawshank? You ever seen that movie
haven't,
Shawshank
man. It
Redemption?
has been on my list because of questions like this. And then people look at me
Oh,
like, how have you not seen it? Then I feel dumb.
yes.
So, no.
Don't feel dumb. That's on you, man. You shouldn't know. You control that. Don't feel dumb. But the movie Shawshank was about hope, and the whole movie was about the world of two men. One has hope, one doesn't. And at the end of the movie, Red, the main character, Morgan Freeman's character, he got hope back, and that's what hope is the thing we have to have. It's not a strategy, but it's something that every human being needs. And when Muhammad told me the story of the coffee bean, it gave me some hope, but hope wasn't going to be enough to get me through. You have to have a plan. And this is like life. You have to have a plan in life. You can't just hang your hat on hope. So when I got to prison, I knew I had to defend myself and I had to survive this world I was going to go into. And I had to just keep showing up. Another thing Muhammad told me, this could be another good tattoo quote, but it doesn't come from me. It comes from Muhammad. He said, you don't have to win all your fights, but you do have to fight all your fights. He said, some days you win, man, and some days you lose. He said, don't worry about the losses. He said, just get up and keep fighting. And that's what I did when I first got there. For the first 2 months, it was a bloodbath. I fought for my life in there. And after I established myself in this prison environment, I finally had a little freedom to breathe and move around. And once the violence was finally over, I got to work on myself on the inside. And it was just in time too, because prison is a very negative world. And I was being sucked in. I was becoming the egg, and I didn't want to be the egg. Muhammad told me before I went to prison, I asked him, I said, what am I going to find more of when I get there? He said, you will find more eggs. He said, here's why you find more eggs. He said, the egg is a natural evolution of any human being in any difficult situation in life. He said, human beings have a tendency to get angry first. He said, you are about to walk in one of the most difficult situations on earth. And the truth is, you'll probably become an egg too. Now, Muhammad was right. I was becoming the egg 2 months in. I didn't want to do that, but I didn't really know how to be a coffee bean. So I have an encounter with another messenger. This other messenger is my first cellmate in prison. His name is Carlos. Carlos is about 5'4". He's a little Hispanic guy, a little bank robber from San Antonio, Texas. He was serving 99 years for all the bank jobs he did. Super nice guy, though. So Carlos tells me one night, he said, if you're going to do this thing, you're going to be a coffee bean, you have to change the way you think. He said, your thinking is off. He said, your problem is you think prison is a punishment when you should be thinking prison is an opportunity. And I remember looking back at Carlos thinking, man, we're serving life in a level 5 prison. This is hell on earth. He said, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Because now you have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to work on you. He said, what version of you walks out of this place with that mindset? And that was the thing, Kwame. I had to change the way I saw the world around me. I had to get up every day and see the potential even in living in a dungeon. And it's back to your question a while ago, this whole thing about not waking up in a prison cell every day, having a good day. Like, I could have a good day when I woke up in prison and I got to work on myself. What kind of day can I have out here when I don't wake up in the confines of a prison? But again, more people are locked up by the things in their head than by the world around them. And so when I got to work on myself in prison and I changed my mindset, I saw prison as an opportunity. This is where you're talking about right now, that opportunity and adversity. And I just put my foot on the gas and went with
This is
it.
powerful. This is let's go into this because I want to share some of your wisdom in a way that it may not have been shared before. Because so to the person listening, Damon and I, we chatted beforehand. One of our friends, Sean French, I believe. No, Jess Ekstrom. Jess introduced
It's
us,
extra.
so she's a fan favorite, and then as soon as we chatted, it was an instant bromance. And one of the things that I asked you was, have you thought about putting this into practice when it comes to persuasion, communication, behavioral observation, body language analysis? Because you've had to become essentially an anthropologist through all of this to understand people in a different way, and there's so much to explore here. But when it comes to the concept of respect, what did your time in prison teach you about the term respect and what it really means? We've all been there. It's late at night and you finally find that one product that you've been waiting for, but then you realize that your credit card is in the other room. That's when that iconic Shop Pay button becomes your best friend. It has all of your information saved, making checkout as simple as a tap of your screen. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. They help you to accelerate your efficiency with AI tools and give you world-class expertise in processing returns and managing inventory. Because of features like Shop Pay, Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet, which means fewer abandoned carts and more sales for you. See fewer carts go abandoned and more sales go through with Shopify and their Shop Pay button. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/Kwame. Go to shopify.com/Kwame. That is shopify.com/Kwame. Today, I want to talk about something that a lot of us put off, and that's life insurance. Now, I get it. It sounds like it's a big undertaking, but if you have family or loved ones who depend on your income, a term life policy is an important step that you can take today to protect their financial future. Fabric by Gerber Life is term life insurance that you can get done today. It's made for busy parents. It's all online and on your schedule. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, often with no health exam required. If you have kids, the time to lock in low rates is now. Fabric has flexible, high-quality policies that fit your budget, like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 per day. And there's no risk because they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, and they are trusted by millions of families. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/Kwame. That's meetfabric.com/Kwame. Use my link so they know that I sent you. That's meetfabric.com/Kwame. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions.
Yes, very good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question in that way for sure. So respect in prison is everything. You know, you hear about prisons and people doing time and respect is everything. They're right. But in the free world too, respect is everything. This is a thing that's earned, not given. And in prison especially, it's something that you had to earn. Now, remember, I'm a guy that's never been in this world before. I don't have a lens with which to even view prison. I get in there, I'm a fish out of water, but I have Carlos who's first teaching me about the ways of prison and earning respect. And, and anytime you wrong somebody, you have to own that mistake. That's one of the ways in prison you earn respect. Let's just say the example is you bump into somebody out, in line or in the day room or going to the chow hall. If you own that mistake, you say, hey man, my bad, I'm sorry, then you avoid confrontation. And that's what you're always wanting to do in life. I don't think confrontation is a very good thing in life. I think if you can avoid confrontation, that's the best possible scenario for you, because confrontation brings negativity and chaos, and we want to avoid that. So one of the things that I did when I was in prison to earn respect in there is I took the time to get to know the men around me in there. Like, when you invest in the people around you, you take the time to get to understand them, then you can make sure that they feel like they've been heard. Because I'll give you an example of how this happened in prison. you have different cellmates in there. Carlos was one of many cellmates I had. They switch up your cellmates on you all the time. You don't ever get really comfortable with one person. So another cellmate right after Carlos was a guy named Sabor. Sabor was a black Muslim guy from Dallas County, just like Muhammad, but Sabor's a little bit younger, man. Sabor's about my age, and right now I'm 50 at the recording this podcast. So Sabor is a black Muslim guy, moves into my cell, and he's really involved in the Muslim community in prison. I saw this as an opportunity. Sabor and I started having conversations at night in our cell. You can get really close with your cellmate because you spend a lot of time in the cell together. And so I would lay in the bottom bunk. He's in the top bunk, and he would ask me questions about what was it like working in the halls of Congress, or what was it like when you were a broker on Wall Street? And I could ask him questions, man, about what was it like growing up as a black man in America? What was it like growing up and being Muslim? And not only that, but I took the time to get to understand Sabor, and I asked him one day if I could read his Quran. Now, this was a big deal for Sabor because Sabor had never had a guy that looked like me, white, middle class, in his cell before, asking if I could read his Quran. He was reluctant at first, but then he's like, you know what? Yes, you could read my Quran. He said, as long as you don't eat pork skins before you do it, right? So, but he let me read his Quran, and I read it from cover to cover. And here's what I started learning, that a lot of these world religions seem to have a lot of the same themes. At this point now, I've read the Bible, I've read the Quran. I got another cellmate another time. The guy's an Indian guy. The guy's Hindi. So I asked him, hey, can I read your Bhagavad Gita? So I got to read the Gita, cover to cover. Now I'm reading another book. One of the Jewish guys, I never had a Jewish cellmate, but I was down at the chapel a lot. I got a hold of the Torah, and I got to read, the Torah for the first time. I read every religious book I could after that. I wanted to read books from every different religion and learn, because here's what I figured out. 95% of the world believes in a supreme being. And if you take the time to get to know people's faith, you understand a lot about people's actions and their humanity and what drives them, because most people, if 95% of the world believe in a supreme being, most people are driven by their faith. They have this thing that anchors them to other human beings, and that's their faith. So I took the time to get to understand the other faiths of the men around me. And now I've got something in common with them. I can speak the language. If you're going to be in this place, you have to get cultured. You have to learn to speak the language. And that's what I did, Kwame. I was a guy that had been to college before, but college couldn't prepare me for prison, except when it did. So here's another example about that, about trying to earn respect in there. So early on in prison, I'm trying to get these guys to conform to being the coffee bean. I'm trying to get them to follow me. And I can't really get anybody to follow me because I'm very different than a lot of the guys in there. I haven't earned that from these guys yet. And I don't know how I'm going to earn it, because I've earned the respect. I don't have to fight anymore. But I thought after that was over that I'd be just like everybody else, but I wasn't. I still wasn't totally accepted in there. And I would go down in the prison chapel a lot, as I said. I spent a lot of time in the chapel. The chapel was like a life raft. And the chapel in a maximum security prison, it's like the crossroads of the prison, because every man can get to the chapel because you're guaranteed your religious access inside of a prison. And on Monday nights, the Christians would allow these Christian volunteers to come in. And every Monday night, these guys would come in and fellowship with us. It was great. These guys would come in from the free world. Sometimes they'd have popcorn, and it made you feel like you're gone from prison for a couple hours on a Monday night. So on Monday nights, without fail, there was a guy that would come in named Joe Torres. Now, Kwame, you'd have loved Joe. Joe was a guy that could have been anywhere in the world but inside of a maximum security prison. Joe had a private jet. Joe had millions and millions of dollars. Joe's company had about 12,000 employees. Joe was the guy that started a restaurant chain called Jason's Deli. Now, but they do have them in Ohio. They have them in Columbus. They have Jason's Delis in Columbus, Ohio. So Joe started this business called Jason's Deli. It's a restaurant chain. It's basically like a place that sells sandwiches. And Joe had this great story that he told about his company, that when he learned about servant leadership, his company took off. And just, he always talked about servant leadership. And so I was telling Joe one night in the chapel, I said, Joe, I'm struggling, man. I'm trying to get these guys to follow me, but I can't get these men to follow me. Joe looked at me. He said, these men will never follow you until you serve these men. He said, because a leader serves his people. He said, if you want these guys to follow you, you have to serve these men. He said, you have to go back to your pod tonight. You need to figure out what your gift is to this pod, and then you give it away to the pod. He said, can you do that? I said, yeah, I can do that. So I go back to the pod that night, and I thought about it. My gift, Kwame, was that I had a college degree in a maximum security prison. Most of the guys I'm locked up with, their education stopped somewhere in junior high, maybe early high school. That was my gift. I could transfer education to these men around me. So I did. I opened a free tutoring service in prison. I taught guys how to read and write. I'd get them ready for the GED test. So if they ever got out of prison one day, they could become a better husband or better father. Or maybe they just wanted to read books while they're in prison to do their time. Books were a great source in prison for me, Kwame. They helped me escape prison. Every day I could pick up a book and read a book and get away from prison for a few hours while I'm reading. And these guys that couldn't read, they didn't have that, but I gave it to them because I taught them how to read and write. Now, here's the deal. Prison is a very transactional place. Nothing is free in prison, Kwame, and you don't want to accept something that comes for free because the price on that may be something way bigger than what you want to pay. So in prison, it's transactional. These guys that I'm teaching how to read and write, they're saying, man, look, West, I can't take classes from you if I can't pay you. You have to tell me how to pay you. And that's what I told these guys. I saw the opportunity, the opening, Kwame. Don't pay it back. Pay it forward. What does that mean? Well, here's what it means, man. I'm teaching you how to read and write. You have a gift. Whatever your gift is, share it with someone else. Give it away to them. Here's what first happened. Here's the change, right? So I'm teaching this guy, this older Hispanic guy, how to read. He'd never been able to really read in English, and all the books are in English, so he wanted to be able to read. And look, this guy is the best artist in prison. Prison has a lot of different people in there with a lot of talents, but artists are they've got some great prison artists in there. This guy's the best artist in the whole pod. This guy could shade anything with pencils. And so he comes up to me one day. He said, hey, West, I got it figured out. I got a way I'm going to pay you by paying it forward. I said, well, what's going on? What are you going to do? So there was a guy in our pod that was indigent. Indigent means you have no money. This guy put the word out on the street that he wanted to send his family a Christmas card. He's been so disconnected from his family. He has no money to afford a Christmas card from one of the prison artists, but he's lonely. They say in Kwame that prison is the only place where you're never alone, but you're always lonely. And that's the truth about prison. So this guy tells me, he said, hey, listen, man, I'm going to draw a Christmas card for this guy to give to his family. And it's going to be the best Christmas card you've ever seen. He said, I've got it all planned out. So he grabbed the guy, he told the guy, he said, listen, man, come out to the day room. He said, sit down and I'm going to draw you. I'm going to sketch you first. So he sketches this guy. It looks like a Polaroid picture, but just almost like it was taken like with a camera. Then he told the guy, he said, go to your cell and grab every picture of everybody your family's ever sent you. All the people that have died since you've been in prison, all the new family members that are babies that have been born since you've been in prison. Bring all your pictures to me. So the guy brought them all down to the day room. The guy sits up at one of the tables in the day room and he starts sketching every single picture inside of a family portrait where this guy is sitting in the middle. And at first, the guys in the day room were walking by, were watching him sketch, and it's cool, man. This guy is sketching all these pictures, but then the whole day room, the whole pod is circled around this table, watching this artist do his thing, his craft, his thing. And by the end of it, Kwame, it was a family portrait, and this guy was in a family portrait. When I got out of prison, Kwame, in 2015, we'll talk about that in a little bit. When I got out of prison, I went and lived with my parents in their spare bedroom. I got to my parents' house, and I started looking at the pictures on the wall. And every picture from about the year 2004, when I get hooked on meth, to the time that I get out of prison, 2015, is missing one person in every picture, me. Because life goes on out there. Even if you're not out there, your family, their lives go on. And this guy found a way to put this indigent guy into a family portrait with his entire family. The guy was in tears when he got this beautiful portrait made. And he told the artist, he said, I don't know what to tell you. I can't pay you for this. And that's when the artist told that guy, don't pay it back, pay it forward. Whatever your gift is, give it to the pod, go give it away to someone else. Well, this guy's broke. He doesn't have any money. He's indigent. He has no way of doing something for somebody. But then he realized his gift is he has two legs that work. And there are other men on our pod that don't have legs that work, guys in wheelchairs, guys on crutches. There was a guy called him Stump, and he had one leg. He'd walk around on the crutches with one leg. And so this indigent guy that got the picture, he would start pushing those guys in the wheelchair to chow. Guy needs to go to the law library or has a call out for something else, maybe his visitation. He was the guy that would push him. And then those guys that received his kindness and his service of being pushed, they would do something for someone else too. This is what happened inside that prison. Joe Tutoris, the other messenger I'm telling you about, he gave me a simple lesson about servant leadership, but it was up to me to go apply that. But Kwame, I saw that for what it was. I'm like, hey, if I'm going to get these guys to follow me, this coffee bean thing, it's not going to be about me shouting the coffee bean from the rooftop. It's going to be about me going out there and earning it from these guys. And once I earned it from these guys, they saw the potential in it too, and they wanted to become coffee beans. It was so much of a transformation inside of a level 5 prison. And I keep saying level 5. Level 5s are the highest security level there is. That's where they've got a administrative segregation. It's where they house the lifers like me. It's the most dangerous kind of prison there is too. But in this level 5 prison, life started changing. Positivity started overcoming the negativity. One of the things Muhammad told me in county jail, he said, Wes, when you walk into a room, you either infect the room with negative energy or you affect the room with positive energy. You infect or affect everywhere. You're the disease or the cure everywhere you go. So he's telling me in county jail, he told me, smile everywhere you go. Be the positive energy that you want to see in the world. Kind of like what Gandhi said, right? So 2015, I've done this time. I've worked on myself. I've become a coffee bean, spiritually, mentally, physically, every day. I'm putting in the work on me. And that's something I tell people when I go speak to audiences, that you are responsible for you. Your mind, your body, and your soul is something you should make the time for every day. And if you don't think you have the time, look at the screen time report. Tell me how much time you've got now, right? And the thing about life is this: you can't give what you don't have. And if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. By 2015 in prison, Kwame, I turned it around. I kept the promise to my mom and dad. I became a good guy. I became a model inmate. I became a coffee bean. And the prison became a pot of coffee instead of a pot of boiling water. And that's when the parole board came to visit me. Now, parole is a device they have in prison where they can let you out of prison. You're not done with your sentence. You're just done with the part of it in prison. You can actually get out and still serve your sentence being on parole. Now, look, it's 7 years into this thing in 2015. I know I'm up for parole, but I don't think I'm going to make parole. And the reason why I'm up for parole is because my crimes were non-aggravated, meaning that I never hurt anybody physically during my crimes. None of my victims were ever home, Kwame. I never saw my victims. They never saw me. No one was physically hurt. No weapons were used. Now, it doesn't mean my crimes weren't serious, because when I broke into people's houses, I didn't just steal their property. I stole their sense of security. And it's something I can't give back to my victims. They'll never get that back. And I took it from them, and it was wrong, and I deserved to go to prison. 2015, the parole board comes to visit me. The lady from parole calls the interview into session. She's got my criminal file in front of her. It's about 1.5 inches thick. She's flipping through the pages of it for about 20 seconds. She slammed the file shut. She pushed it away. She said, Mr. West, I came here today to ask you one question for your parole hearing. She said, this is a one-question test, Mr. West. The answer to my question determines whether or not you go home or you stay in prison. But the answer to my question is not in the file about the guy that I'm reading about who committed all those crimes in Dallas all those years ago. She said, we don't see people like you in the system, Mr. West, because you had it all. You had every advantage, every privilege, and every opportunity over everybody your entire life, but you blew through your privileges. You became a drug addict. You became a criminal. You became a thief. A jury in Dallas gave you life in prison for the things you did. But instead of let that life sentence define you, you changed yourself inside this prison. She said, Mr. West, what got our attention, the reason why we're here today, is you didn't just change yourself inside this prison. You changed the entire prison around you. One man changed the prison. Kwame, at that moment, I realized what she was talking about right there. I wasn't sitting in that chair because Damon West is such a great guy and Damon West made such a big change. Those things, the big change has something to do with it. I was there because I earned the right. I was in that chair because all those men in prison believed in me and the coffee bean message, and they changed the prison. They helped change the prison. They helped put me in that chair. I was representative of all the other men in prison. Now I'm in the seat. She says, so look, I've got one question for you, Mr. West. She said, if you could be remembered for being anything in life, anything at all, she said, tell me what that one thing would be, but give it to me in just one word. Go. Kwame, I didn't have to think about the word. I knew the word. I've been living that word when I was out there earning that respect, when I was putting in the work. You know, this is the thing about life, Kwame. Life is hard. You got to put in that work. Your hopes, your goals, your dreams, whatever it is in life that you want to do, you have to put in that work because there's no such thing as an overnight success. It doesn't exist. It's not real. And while I was in prison, I was building a brand. And that's what I tell people all the time, man. You are the brand. You have to build your brand. And I was sitting in that seat that day because I'd built the brand, and she asked me, what will we call that brand, basically, is what she said. Give me one word that you would use to describe yourself. My one word was useful. I said, I just want to be useful. Because, Kwame, we all want to be useful. Every human being wants to have value. That's the thing about negotiating, learning about what drives people. Here's the two things that every human being wants out of life, and you can take this to the bank because I've lived in a level 5 prison and I've lived here in the free world. Every human being I encountered between those places all wanted the same two things at one point in our life. We all wanted to belong, and we all wanted to be loved. And I learned that when I was learning about people and their faith and what drives people and what motivates people. And that's what I told that lady that day. I said, ma'am, I just want to be useful. Every human being wants to have value. My value is to be useful again. And look, I can be useful inside of a prison, as you've already seen, or I could be useful in that free world again. On November 16th, 2015, it worked. I walked out of a Texas prison. Now, on November 16, 2015, when I walk out of prison, I walk into my parents' arms in the parking lot that day. I'm not a free man because I'm on parole. I got a little more time left on parole in Texas, Kwame. I'm on parole to the year 2073. So let's be honest. I got 48 more years from this recording to be on parole. But again, every day that I wake up and my feet don't hit the cold concrete floor of a prison cell, I'm winning, Kwame.
You know what's ironic? As a negotiation expert, one of the most important skills I teach is presence, truly listening, reading the room, catching what is not being said. But for the longest time, I'd walk out of my own meetings realizing that I spent half of the time buried in my notes instead of actually being present. Things would fall through the cracks, action items would get fuzzy, and I'd have to piece everything together after the fact. But that changes with Granola. Granola is an AI-powered notepad built for the way that real people actually meet. Here's how it works. You take notes like you normally would, and in the background, Granola securely transcribes the meeting, and when it's over, it turns everything into clean, structured, and actually useful notes. And the best part? Granola works through your device's audio, which means it integrates seamlessly into the tools that you already use. No setup, no awkward interruptions. It is just your normal meeting with superpowers. You get to actually listen, stay fully engaged, and still walk away knowing exactly what was decided, who's doing what, and what comes next. If your meetings are eating up your day, Granola is a no-brainer. You can try it totally free for 3 months. Just go to granola.ai/Kwame. That's granola.ai/Kwame. Get 3 months free at granola.ai/Kwame. My goodness. This is one of those situations. What do I say to this? This is incredible. See, well, this is so good. This is so good. Damon, I appreciate this. And we're not done. We're still flying on this because there's so much to explore here. And I want to go back to with respect. You said respect is earned. And when you think about your story, clearly you did the work to earn that respect. And this is something that so many people struggle with. They say, this person doesn't respect you. And then we might say, okay, you need to earn the respect. Now, for somebody out here, let's say it's in their personal life with a significant other or within their friend group, they were always getting, picked on, disrespected in their friend group, or at work, they don't have status, they don't have the titles, they don't have authority or power. So they're feeling powerless and they don't feel like people respect them or take them seriously. Now, when it comes to earning respect, we can do that by being useful. But how do we go about earning respect in a way that doesn't subordinate us to other people? how do we earn respect without putting ourselves beneath them? Because we don't want it to be a situation where we are rejected and then we kind of grovel and beg for the respect. How do we shift our mindset to understand the difference between begging in a submissive, weak kind of way for respect versus earning the respect for somebody else?
So here's some stuff I would tell you, and I picked up a lot of stuff. I got into the 12 steps when I was in prison, and the 12 steps of AA is a lot of the tenets I live my life. I still go to meetings all the time. I go to meetings every week. I mean, I'll do it the rest of my life. So here's some stuff I picked up in the 12 steps that might help you out with this, the answer to this question. First of all, comparison is the thief of joy. We can't compare ourselves to anybody. When we start comparing ourselves to anybody or a group, or say, I'm not as far along the road as someone else, don't do that. Because when you compare, you're always going to rob yourself of the good things in life. And the good things in life sometimes are small things that happen every day. My friend Ed Milet told me, confidence comes from the promises that you keep to yourself. Confidence comes from the promises that you keep to yourself. And these big things we want to do in life starts off with little bitty promises that we start making every day to ourselves. And we keep those promises, and that's how we become the best version of us. And I think that you also have to remember this tenet we have from the world of AA is we tell people all the time, other people's opinions of you are none of your business. You can't involve yourself with what other people say, because people are going to have opinions, and it doesn't mean they're right or they're wrong. It just doesn't mean, it means it has nothing to do with you, because that's their thoughts. It's what's in their head. In recovery, what I'm always trying to work for is I'm always trying to keep my side of the street clean. And if I can keep my side of the street clean, then I can have a life that's full of serenity, peace, and hope. And so when I keep my side of the street clean, here's what I want to do. I want to constantly be working a personal inventory. And I believe a personal inventory is when you clean out the baggage in your life. You get rid of the old stuff. You find out what you're missing in life or what you've got too much of. It's like a business. They say in the 12 steps, a business that doesn't regularly run an inventory will go broke. Any business, right? Because you don't know what's on your shelves. You don't know what you need more of. So you have to be working a personal inventory in your life. Find out what your resentments are, what your fears, your doubts. Work through these things. Don't let that stuff bottle up and hang out in your life. Clean your side of the street, and don't worry what someone else does with their side of the street. And Kwame, I would tell you also that one of the things I learned in the 12 steps is that, most of the problems that you have in life, the things that you fear, are not even real. Most fears are in your head. And like my friend John Gordon says this. I always like to give the quotes where they come from. John Gordon says, fear and faith have more in common than the letter F to begin with. John says fear and faith both believe in futures that haven't happened yet. Fear is a negative future, which you can choose to believe in if you want, but faith is a positive future, which you can also choose to believe in. And when given the choice in life, choose faith over fear. And I didn't say religion because I'm not a guy that really digs into religion too much. I believe religion is a man-made thing, and spirituality is your conscious contact with whatever you call God. And I encourage people, believe in whatever you want to believe in. Don't let someone tell you what to believe in, because you have to live in your shoes and your head every single day. So I would say find your own identity, whatever it is in life. Be happy with what your lot in life is. Push to be a better version of you. Don't compare yourself with other people. Don't worry about what other people say. And ultimately, keep your side of the street clean. Here's another thing that I tell people all the time. You want to be happy, be authentic. Be yourself. Be authentic, be real. And authenticity means this. I'll use Christianity because I am a Christian. So I'll use Christianity as what I'm going to use this example for. I tell Christians all the time, you want me to believe you are a Christian? Then show me you're a Christian. Don't tell me you're a Christian. Show me you're a Christian. People that walk up and the first thing they lead off with is their faith, is public profession of faith. Every time I see someone do a public profession of faith, right when you first meet them, I grab my wallet because I feel like you're about to pick my pocket. So here's what I tell them. I'm a Christian. You're a Christian. Want me to believe you're a Christian? Show me you're a Christian. Show me the things that show up in red ink in the New Testament. Those are the quotes from Jesus. Show me love. Show me compassion. Show me mercy in your actions. Show me empathy. Show me helping a fellow neighbor out. Show me this stuff in red ink when someone wrongs you that says, let he without sin cast the first stone. Don't tell me you're something. Show me you're something. Show me you're a Christian to all the Christians out there. Because honestly, talk is cheap. And they say in prison, we'll wrap up with one last prison quote. A pair of lips can say anything. And that's a prison quote, but it's true in life too, right? You can say anything, but who are you really? How authentic are you? And look, man, your actions don't lie. And I know we live in a world right now where you're seeing stuff out there. You're like, man, I can't believe this is going on, but your eyes aren't lying to you. Don't let other people get in your head. Show people who you are.
Amazing. And listeners, hey, I almost forgot about this. So Damon has been dropping dimes this whole episode. So if you have listened to this point, that means you like the episode. So show Damon some love, give him a 5-star review, shout out this episode, share it with a friend. That's the best way to support. And also, if you need a keynote speaker, Damon West is your guy.
But yeah, I mean, and that's where people, I mean, I speak to corporations, sports teams, groups, events, all the time. I mean, I'm on the road 20, 25 days a month. People find me at my website, damonwest.org. That's where you find me for speaking.
Amazing. And hey, listen, man, you're trying to sign off. I'm not letting you go. We're not done yet. We got Simone's question still.
I'm ready for it, Simone.
You just said that we have to choose faith over fear. So I think it's fair, but sometimes it's very difficult when you have chosen faith over fear in the past and it went wrong. So how can we recover when we choose faith over fear and things go wrong? How can we be resilient? What's the correct mindset after that?
Great question, and you answered it too at the very end when you said the word mindset. So I'm going to tell you how you answered it. Here's the deal: you are going to stumble, you're going to fall, you're going to have to get back up. You're going to make mistakes in life, and sometimes these mistakes can be a voice in your head. I'll tell you, you got time for one more story, Simone?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when I got out of prison, and this is going to answer your question, but I'm a storyteller, and I believe human beings learn from storytellers because a storyteller can wrap the moral, the lesson, the principle up in a story that you'll never forget. So when I got out of prison, I knew I was sitting in a credible story in the mesh of the coffee bean. And the problem was there wasn't a lot of place for me to share that story because I'm an ex-con. And a lot of ex-cons that have come before me have burned the bridge to the ground. It takes me a long time to get my footing in the world. I don't just walk out and become a corporate speaker. I've got to earn that. And so there's not a lot of place for me to speak in the beginning, but there was a mirror in my parents' spare bedroom where I lived, a little vanity mirror my mom had when I moved in. So for 2 years, I practiced a presentation in front of a mirror. There's not the audiences. There's no people buying tickets to see me speak. I'm speaking to a mirror, but I'm getting my reps. I'm getting good at my craft. I'm getting my reps in. And I'm getting myself ready for the right opportunity. I believe the right opportunity is the world of college football. But the problem is, I haven't played college football in 20 years. Coaches don't know me. I don't know them. January 11th, 2017. I've been out of prison 14 months. A buddy invites me to Houston to the Bear Bryant Coach of the Year Award show. He's in the media guy. So he gives me a press pass to this event. And there's 8 coaches there that night, the 8 best coaches in America. And I run around that room that night and I pitch every coach of why they should bring me in to talk to their team. And in the first hour, I got 7 no's from 8 coaches. That's a no. That's a no every 8 minutes, man. Let's be real. It's a bloodbath. I'm standing in the corner of the Toyota Center. I'm licking my wounds. I'm feeling sorry for myself. And the voice in my head, Simone, the voice in my head after 7 failures that night is screaming at me, go home. The voice in my head is telling me, man, you don't belong in this room. Why did you waste your time tonight? I'm going to tell you what the voice in my head called me that night, an imposter. And I bet every person listening to this podcast has heard the imposter voice, right? That's the voice of fear and doubt that tells us we're not going to do this. We're not good enough. But let me tell you what I quit doing a long time ago, Simone. Listening to myself. And I'm going to tell you why I stopped listening to myself. I found out long ago that sometimes that voice in my head talking to me was fear talking to me. And let me tell you what you don't want to do. You don't want to listen to fear because fear is a liar. So you know what I do instead of listening to myself? It's something I picked up in prison. I talk to myself. That's what I talk to myself all the time. And that night, I told myself before I got to that door, Damon, you're not going anywhere. And let me tell you something about the voice in your head and the voice in your mouth. The voice in your head and the voice that you speak is the one voice you will hear more than any other voice the entire time you are on this earth. That's the voice you'll hear more than any other voice. Be careful what you tell yourself because you will believe that voice. That night, I was like, no, Damon, you survived prison, man. This isn't going to hurt like prison. You're going to talk to that last coach. He's going to tell you no to your face, and then you're going to go home. And the last coach is the hardest guy to get you in the room. His team beat Alabama 2 nights before for the national championship. Everybody's in line to talk to this guy. But I'm not leaving because remember, I've told myself, you're not going anywhere. And we got to remind ourselves sometimes what a bad day looks like. Back to the beginning of the conversation, right? This isn't a bad day. I'm not in prison anymore. So that night, I stalked Dabo Swinney around that room, the head coach at Clemson. And I look like a crazy person, man. I'm hiding behind fake plants. Dabo sees me and security sees me, but I get in front of Dabo. I gave him my pitch. Came up flat. Man, he's like, you got a card on you? Gave him my card. He took it. He said, I'll check you out. And he was gone. I've seen that no before that night, but I felt good about the final no from Dabo because that no meant that I left it all on the field. Or like my friend Muhammad said, you don't have to win all your fights. You got to fight all your fights. Simone, I went 0 for 8 that night, and I went home and slept like a baby because my metric for succeeding that night was to go out there and ask 8 coaches, and I got 8 no's. I succeeded. I did what I came to do. I maybe didn't get a yes, but I did what I came to do. I felt good about it, man. I kept my promise to myself. 4 months later, I get an email out of the blue. It's the director of football operations at Clemson University, a guy named Mike Dewey. Here's what Mike Dewey's email said. Hey, Damon, Coach Swinney mentioned an award show in Houston. He'd love to have you come talk to his team. Do you have August 1st open? I'm like, brother, I got every first open, man. I had nothing going on in 2017. So August 1st, 2017, I go speak to the Clemson Tigers, the defending national champions of college football. And when I get done my presentation that night, Dabo's in my face, and Dabo's high energy. Damon, that's the most amazing story I've ever heard. I've never seen my players respond like that to a speaker. He said, have you been to Alabama to talk to Alabama's football team? And I'm like, no, Dabo, I've been to Clemson. I said, Alabama doesn't know who I am, man. He said, we'll see you at that. He said, I just texted Nick Saban from the back of the room. The next day, when my flight lands in Houston for my trip to Clemson, I turn my phone on. There's a voicemail and a text message from the director of football operations at the University of Alabama, the Whale, the biggest program in America with the best coach to ever do it. Here's what that voicemail said, Simone. Hey, Damon, Dabo called Coach Saban last night. Coach Saban can't wait to hear your story. How does August 21st, 7:30 p.m. work for your calendar? I laughed out loud because I didn't have a calendar. I didn't need a calendar back then. Just like that, Dabo Swinney kicks open the biggest door to college football, but Dabo doesn't stop there. Kirby Smart calls, Lincoln Riley, Chip Kelly, Lane Kiffin, Ryan Day. Every coach in America is calling my phone. When are you coming to talk to my team? The dream is real, man. It's happening, but the biggest event hadn't happened yet. I haven't run into this other servant leader. So it was August of 18, 1 year after that first presentation at Clemson. I get a phone call to the blue in August of 18. On the other end of my phone is a guy named John Gordon. Now, John Gordon is one of the biggest motivational speakers and authors in America. This is the energy bus guy. And I'm like, John, I know who you are. How do you know who I am? He said, Dabo Swinney. He said, Damon, I just got done speaking to Clemson today. Dabo brought me in the office for 30 minutes to tell me your whole story. John said this before the pandemic. John said, Damon, the world needs a coffee bean message. Let's deliver this message to the world. He said, will you write a book with me? We'll call it The Coffee Bean. In the summer of 2019, 10 years after I first heard that story from Muhammad in a jail cell, the book, The Coffee Bean, came out, took the world by storm. The whole world. It started off in America first, right? 4 to 6 weeks, it was at the top of every bestseller list. It got a global publishing deal. Global publishing deals are rare. That's when your book goes out in every language in the world. So the book starts popping up in Chinese and Spanish and Arabic, French, Italian, German, Vietnamese, Korean, just in time for the year 2020. Remember 2020, right? COVID. The global pandemic hits. The entire world becomes a pot of boiling water, and the entire world is searching for a message. That's when the world discovered Damon West, the coffee bean guy. And my life went from flat to on a rocket ship. But it all goes back to that one night in Houston, Texas. Remember that January 11, 2017? That night I had 7 no's in the first hour. Remember, I was walking out the door, getting ready to leave. And Simone, if I listen to the voice of fear and doubt that night and I walk out that door, we're not having this conversation today. And the world doesn't have the coffee bean message. So what I'm telling you is this, what I'm telling your audience is this. You can't give up when life gets tough. You can't quit because it gets hard. You don't not ask your questions in life. The only question you really know the answer to in life is the one you do not ask. That answer is no every time because you didn't even ask your question. Wayne Gretzky said it best. Wayne Gretzky said you miss 100% of the shots you do not take. So Simone, go take your shots in this life, brother.
My goodness, we're done. This episode's over. Okay, man.
Hey, just to wrap this up, man, I did find Muhammad in the end. People want to know where's Muhammad now? What's he doing? I found him, but he was dead. He had passed away of an opiate overdose in 2017. But I went and found his family, and I started a scholarship in his name that I fund I put $10,000 in the scholarship every year. The family picks the winner, and it's to honor him. And every year, one little boy or one little girl that grows up in his South Dallas neighborhood gets a chance to get out and get a life at education. So, yeah, man, happy ending, man. Found Muhammad.